Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is another book related video, I've been doing a terrible job this year of actually doing any reading compared to previous years. Pregnancy, COVID, well not having COVID, but the lockdown has made it so much harder. Anyway, all the Zoom chats, everyone seems to have a bookshelf behind them, so I thought I would go through my bookshelf and just pick out any interesting books that I thought might be of interest that I can recommend to people. So here we go. So this here is my non-fiction. These shelves aren't really in an order, they were, but then we moved the bookshelves and all the books, so they just got shoved back on kind of randomly. But this is still kind of like my non-fiction stuff, so there's quite a few kind of feminist things going on here. But this one, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, is a book that I've mentioned before. I'm pretty sure I did a full review of it or mentioned it somewhere, and it's really interesting. So Henrietta Lacks was a quite poor African-American woman who died in, I think, 1951 of an aggressive cervical cancer. And before she died, the doctor took a sample of her cancer cells, which they found were really good at surviving outside of the human body, outside of a cell, not outside of a cell, outside of a human body, which other cells just don't survive. So when they're trying to do experiments and stuff, they use the cells to experiment with, and so they used and reproduced these cervical cancer cells, and they are still used today a lot by scientists, called HeLa cells, H-E-L-A, from Henrietta Lacks, HeLa cells. But her family had no idea that this had happened, and so it raised a lot of questions about the ethics of taking someone's cells or part of their body without their consent, and whether or not it's justified. And also the rest of her family remained poor and lacked access to appropriate healthcare because of the situation in the US, where it costs a lot of money to get medical care, but also particularly because they were black and therefore less likely to have access to appropriate healthcare. But then it also does touch on the fact, well, quite a lot, that all the research that they did using her cells has saved a lot of lives because of all the different diseases and conditions they were able to test out using these cells. So it's just a really interesting book, and it's really well written. It's by Rebecca Skloot, who's a journalist, I think, so it's just a well written book as well. So moving over here, I have quite a few Ishiguro books. The Buried Giant, one of the more recent ones, it's from a few years ago now, but it's one of the more recent ones that I've bought of his, and I really liked this one. It's about a kind of village where everyone kind of forgets everything. Like people can't hold on to their memories, and it's relating to the fact that there was a buried giant. So it's kind of has a old English, what am I trying to say, Anglo-Saxon vibe, but also kind of a slightly supernatural, like the stories of Arthur or whatever. But it also is about the couple's marriage, and especially as they're getting older, and I just quite liked that. I also quite liked Julian Barnes, but I read some of his and liked them, and some not so much. I did really like Sense of an Ending, although initially I didn't like it as much, but yeah, I do like Julian Barnes' stuff. So over here, some more like sci-fi things. So there's quite a lot of kind of a collection of sci-fi. So Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is kind of a classic and very funny, and was made into a film, which I didn't care for that much. But the book I do really like. Time's Arrow by Martin Amis, that's how you say his name, about a German doctor who is living his life backwards, and so he is going through his life in reverse and sees the things that he has done and that has happened to him, but his sort of consciousness is seeing them all in reverse, so he doesn't fully understand what's happening. And he was a doctor in the concentration camps in the Second World War, as well as various other things that have happened to him. So it's a bit grim, I suppose, but I quite liked it, and I thought the device of doing it backwards worked well. Sometimes those devices, I don't think they work very well. Also, Times Arrow is the name of an episode of Star Trek, which is why I bought the book. Nerd. This book is Full of Spiders by David Wong. I also really liked. I saw John Dies at the End, the film, which I thought was really funny, several years ago. And this is like the sequel about a town that's overrun by giant killing spiders, but only a few people can see them. It's a bit, his books are always slightly mad. So David Mitchell is another author that I really like, and Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet, which I am definitely pronouncing wrong, is one, if not my favourite of his books, and definitely one of my favourite books overall, about a Dutch clerk who goes to Edo in Japan, or Edo, can't pronounce anything apparently, in whatever century it is that I can't remember, sorry, to look at some irregularities with the books, and ends up getting trapped there. The book then takes like a mad turn to involve like a religious cult and babies being kidnapped and stuff, but it kind of works, and I really liked it. Apparently, I think this book took him about 4 years to write because of all the research he had to do into Japanese history, but it really shows, and some of his other books I feel like were kind of rushed, but this one I do think it really shows the amount of attention to detail, and I really liked it. So How to Stop Time by Matt Haig is about a man who is aging really, really slowly. So he's lived for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, but he only looks like he's about 40 years old, and it's just really sad, I suppose, the central concept of it, because obviously everyone he knows dies, and he has to keep moving and changing his identity all the time so that he doesn't get kind of found out. Never Let Me Go is another Ishiguro book. It's probably my favourite, definitely my favourite of his, and again one of my favourite books overall, and it was also made into a film. So it seems like it's going to be kind of a romantic love triangle book about young people growing up together in some kind of boarding school, but it actually has a much darker science fiction-y element to it, which I think caught people out when they went to see the film, because the film, like all the posters and everything, advertised itself as like a romantic coming of age love triangle. I don't know, I didn't actually see the film, but that's just how it looked on the posters. But Never Let Me Go is hugely emotionally traumatizing. That's just a warning for you. So down onto the second shelf, and again these are not organised in any way, they're just shoved on. So The Falafel King is Dead is set in Palestine. No, I have to double check. Lebanon. Gosh, I don't know anything about anything right. So it's set in Lebanon, and just about living in a town where you have just the constant threat of bombs and attacks, and that kind of stress that would take on you, I suppose. But yeah, I did like that book. The Vegetarian by Han Kang, and also Human Acts by Han Kang. So The Vegetarian, so she's a South Korean author, and these are translated into English. The Vegetarian is a weird book. I really liked it, but it is really weird, about a woman that decides to become a vegetarian, which is quite a controversial, rebellious act in South Korea, it would seem, disobeying both her father and her husband to do so. But then she also then becomes, I guess, mentally ill and starts to think that she is a tree, and ends up in hospital refusing to eat any food at all because she thinks that she is like a plant. And then Human Acts is completely different, I think, in tone and style, and it is about a actual massacre of students that happened several years ago in South Korea by the military, and so it just follows the one of the boys that is killed, and then like his spirit, and also his family and things, and it's quite upsetting book. So The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood, I liked this a lot. Well, I really liked this book, and I liked it better than the other one by Margaret Atwood that I can't remember the name of. The Handmaid's Tale. Don't know why that took me so long to remember. So Blind Assassin is like an old woman looking back on her life and the various horrible things that men did to her, and her relationships with men, and also her sister who killed herself, and why her sister killed herself. And it's really upsetting in parts, but it weaves its way all back and forth through the different time periods, from present day to, you know, this woman looking back on when she was younger and when her parents and family were younger as well. But yeah, I really liked that. And some more. And then these ones here are not mine, they are boyfriends, so I don't know what these are all about. But yeah, so there's quite a few books that I have enjoyed and quite a few authors. So Ishiguro, Julian Barnes, Penelope Lively is another author that I quite like. Moon Tiger is really good. David Mitchell, Margaret Atwood, Matt Haig. Yeah, so this is just one of my bookshelves. I do have a couple, well, one more that has my books on it, but these are the books that I've actually read, whereas the other ones, a lot of them I haven't read yet. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you've read any of these books yourself, let me know what you thought of them. If you have any recommendations, please let me know below, although like I said, I'm being truly terrible at actually reading books at the moment. And if you've liked the video, please give it a like, and if you'd like to see more, please subscribe.